Although the weed flowers marking old autumn's last tracks were still flourishing, heavy snow flurries threatened to bring a white Thanksgiving and either complicate the holiday or add to its romance. Meanwhile, Peter pulled up to his terminal, brought up his 30,000-line computer program, and opened the patient for surgery, as he liked to think of it. Working swiftly from a red-inked printout marked during coffee hour, he clamped off capillaries, redid their interfaces, and bloodlessly sealed them shut again, although these were only preparatory and minor repairs in auxiliary areas. Next, the main arteries had to be incised, and therefore it was no longer possible to open and unblock the incursions in sequence, since indirect ramifications and side concerns quickly arose and wildly flared, as fleeting thoughts when one thing led to another, thereby requiring immediate attendance, lest they, in the formless impressionism of the art of computer programming, fade to vague remembrance and reappear later, always at an inopportune time, as defects known as bugs. The phone rang while Peter was juggling these evaporating images, and so he had to ignore it. But no matter, for phone mail would record the call. 20 minutes later, Peter had sutured the incisions and readied a compile and regression test, which would either attest to the quality of the operation or reveal its fatal errors and necessitate the revitalization of the patient, or at worst, require a restoration to preoperative health from a backup file. During these tests, Peter played back the phone call and heard Angelina's voice. "It's snowing, Peter. Oh, and please bring wine for our Thanksgiving dinner tonight. Bye." The computer test showed 0 defects, and so Peter, now fully back to earth, walked to the window down the hall and watched the snow squall advancing down the mountainside across the river. This being the eve of a holiday, workers would be let off early, and so Peter, anticipating this and needing an edge on the snowfall, quickly departed from the corporation, vanishing among the flakes. Although the snowstorm was in full force, the low center of gravity of the Honda Prelude prevailed, his radial tires being the first to chew the unsullied snow. 3 heavy inches had already fallen by the time Peter had bought the wine, changed into his winter clothes, and rolled into Rhinecliff, where he parked and elatedly began the long walk to the sandstone farmhouse. Some flowers of the fall's second spring still poked their heads above the white death wrap that was being drawn around them, and Peter's brain stuttered in the acceptance of the incongruity of the scene, his vision wavering in the blurred demarcation of the seasons. This, then, he knew, was the smothering of the earth's last warm sweet odors, the sad finale of the perpetual flowering carnations, the blanching of the still green and grassy banks of the stream, summer's last refuge. Even the rose d'amour that he carried for Angelina had turned from red to pink with the snow's ivory dusting. As if to mourn for the fallen fragrances of man and flower, Peter stopped in the old cemetery and picked a marigold, one that was still vital, one that only yesterday had thrived in the warm heart of a tombstone. And as he inhaled its odor, 1,000 memories reoccurred, and so he was immediately given back his youth and the energy that would carry him well through life's final frost. Rounding the other side of the gravestone, he read it after wiping off the snow. Moving on, Peter had to watch his footing, but now and then enjoyed an intentional slide down an unwalkable slope, for even mere existence had now become a pleasure. Angelina felt within her bones the onset of a cold winter, as she watched the blizzard out the window and prepared the cranberries and the stuffing. The snowstorm was cleansing the world, truly laying on it a blanket of serenity. As she put the broccoli into the wood stove, she reflected on the snowfall and knew that it was nature's way of getting people to stay in and enjoy the home from which living warmth emanated. The inner child in her was excited at the prospect of throwing snowballs and sledding down the big hill, not to mention the building of a snow fort, which the little boy in Peter would no doubt dream of even more so. She put the soup on the fire, feeling warm in her country kitchen, as love and anticipation mixed into the glow of the new season. She loved to cook for this man who gave her so much time and appreciation. This was a good life of laughing and living and touching. It had been so long since someone had made her laugh. For this, a duck would be served, along with potatoes, corn, broccoli, and greens fresh from the country soil. She lit the candles and placed them on the table. Peter could feel the bulk of the house out there amid the streaking shadows. Angelina blinked the new electric lights on and off a few times and called to him out the door as she searched, like some winter firefly, for the beacon of his reply. Appearing out of the whiteness like a ghost made flesh, Peter shook off the large flakes of snow on the porch and embraced her, youth again creeping across their faces as they kissed. "I love you," he whispered. "I have a surprise for you, Peter. I'll show you after dinner. It's a work of art, my art." Peter uncorked the first wine, which turned out to be champagne, and although they seldom drank a lot, it flowed and flowed in, thanks this evening as they feasted on the duck. "Where did I ever find you, Angelina? You are so rare. I've been looking for someone like you for many years." "Me too. Where did you come from?" "Well, I came from the past, Angelina, from a long time ago," he said, swelling with the emotions brought on by love's joy. "Yes, I think and know it so too, Peter, but tell me about it. Tell me about us long ago." "Indeed, I came from a century ago, the last time, from the 1800s. I was a monk in a monastery in love with a nun. We worked on the same books, she editing them and I illuminating them. And so we became close and met often in love through a secret door that connected the monastery to the nunnery.
Under the moon's ghostly glow, in the chamber where the dark winds blow, a figure cloaked in shadows bane. I remove an old illustrated newspaper from the nearby shelf and slip it under the door. I poke a pen through the keyhole till the key falls out on the nunnery side and onto my newspaper. I carefully slide the paper back under the door. My hand trembles as I turn the key in the lock that creaks and groans with noises that sound to be so loud as to give me away. Bits of rust stream out of the lock, making a small pile on the floor. I pray that the key does not break off inside the lock, and so I turn it ever so cautiously. At last the door opens and I am into the nunnery. The lights are off in the corridor, for no one is ever expected to use it. I can tell that she is nearby, since the scent in the air is similar to the perfume that she puts in a letter. "Brother Peter," she whispers, "yes, I am over here."
When the monastic village burned, I rescued her, you, from the fire, via the hidden door.
Months in yelling fire, fire, I think a voice, it shrieks and breaks the code of silence. Christ, a great tragedy, the monastical village, the library, the monastery, and the nunnery have somehow caught fire and are burning. monk relates, the fire started in the library when a candle fell onto some dry scrolls. Something about a scuffle to reach the big books. Soon the entire library was engulfed in flames and was filled with terrible black smoke. The fire has since spread to the nunnery, and it's well on its way toward the monastery. Everyone is panicking, and soon here too, running every which way in the black smoke. Oh, but me, what he says, I am used finding my way in the dark. Oh, never mind, get out, drag those who have succumbed. You too, it's getting black in here by. He says I am used finding my way in the dark. Oh, never mind, get out, drag those who have succumbed. You too, it's getting black in here by. I sink to the floor, and now I crawl along that floor. Underneath the smoke, I find my way to the nunnery and quickly unlock the connecting door and head straight for her room. Still in the dark as always, I find her dazed but alive and carry her out of the nunnery and into our new life. I tell her I managed to save one book from the library, my favorite, the one that I always like to look further on, the old book of quatrains. Good, here we all stand outside, watching until all the buildings of the monastic village are reduced to glowing embers.
And we set off together into the wilderness with an ancient book that I'd saved. And there we made a wonderful life together, eventually growing old in love, peace, and serenity. On the day after you died, I lay on top of your grave all night long, intending to stay there until I myself died, when suddenly I heard the most wonderful and haunting singing of a nightingale, as if it was the song of my partner's soul ascending. I got up and walked closer to the bird and listened in joy, enchanted by the song. After what I thought had been only a few minutes, I realized that somehow more than several decades had gone by, for I could see, as if from a time machine, that a modern town had grown up in the wilderness around me. And all this I knew to be true, for I had been granted the wisdom of the ages while I'd remained unseen, as captured by the nightingale's lullaby. So, I found myself here in Rhinecliff, and when I saw you on the porch that first day, I knew right then and there that it was you, the nun that I had loved so long ago, that you had somehow also been spirited here by the bird's melody. Peter, it's true. I remember all of it now. It was our bird of time. Yes, and now it is the crow. Angelina, we have come back to each other. Yes, from another life. I knew it. I just didn't want to say it yet. An easel stood in a corner, covered by a sheet. "I'll show you my surprise now," she said. "It is my masterpiece." "I'm ready," he answered, walking over to it. She unveiled the painting and said, "It's the state of my backyard garden on the day that we met. A scene now forever etched in time and mind. This is my Christmas present to you, to us." She pointed out the aspects of the painted landscape, relating, "Here the falling chestnuts of yesteryear, as from our healthy tree of love, there the wild-hearted roses gnarling among the branches of spruce, like a strongly formed poem blossoming with meaning. And there," he continued, "the golden-throated lilies sing, and here a maiden flower blushes, its purity and virginity reborn," she added, "and there a galaxy of sunflowers sways in the wind, echoing the luminosity of our love. Yes," he continued, "herein thrive all the flowers of our fragrant garden, even the silken saucers of the hollyhocks, in which you caught a bee as a child, then shook it and held it against your ear to hear the aggravated buzz, even getting stung perhaps, then opening the flower and letting the bee fly away." Yes, it was a long time ago, but it seems like yesterday.
They quietly cleaned up the dishes, freshened up the bed, and slipped beneath those white sheets of snow. They rolled toward each other and kissed, shaking and quivering even from this, for they had now become orgasmic by touch alone. Their free arms reached out and around and scratched each other's back and whatever else they could reach, adding fuel to a sensual fire that only an ocean could quench. Thus they hibernated, snuggling in their quilted nest, cradling, cuddling, and nuzzling like kittens. They ate another and another dessert of love for the longest time, ascending, stabilizing, and then building on it up to heights that went well beyond the known physical boundaries. Some endless time later he joined with her as at the same time she surrounded him. He thus became the centaur, man above the waist and beast below. She became the tiger cat, in heat, meowing with delight. They were one, sharing the connecting element. There was no telling where he ended and she began. He became larger and larger until the surge could be denied no longer. They flooded together down the love stream as the dam broke, and there they coasted and rode the gentle waves. And still they kissed afterward, more so then than ever, and caressed and gently touched each other, every nerve tingling with sensation as they shook in unison, tidal aftershocks. They left their bodies and once again floated weightless through the heavens and back, across the scenes of the centuries that they'd known. They spotted the first flying reptile, sighted near man on the African savanna, swam in the sunken druid cities of Atlantis, saw Merlin building Stonehenge and burying the crimson chalice beneath it, watched the Sphinx weathering away, saved only by its sinking into the sands, witnessed the scaffolding around the pyramids that had formed the slow stone ramps, glimpsed the last temptation of Christ, beheld the fall of Constantinople, observed sultan after sultan rising and then falling from the throne, and looked at the first printing press. Eventually they fell into deep slumber, cocooned in their embrace, and at this last second of consciousness, she whispered a thought to him, a message from the herein to the hereafter. "Peter, when we awake, it will be spring."